a couple of weeks ago, Brian, right after New Year's, we had the county executive from Howard County, Dr. Calvin Ball, on the show, and he was talking, amongst other things, about the fact, look, I'm going to take $8 million out of my American Rescue Plan money, and I want the school board in Howard County to match my $8 million, and let's have some bonuses. Let's take care of our teachers, our school employees, our folks who have, been looking out for our kids all this time. And so he made that announcement. Well, this past Tuesday, the school superintendent for Howard County, Dr. Michael Moderano, many-time guest on our show as well, stood together with the county executive to make this announcement about $16.1 million in bonus money to go to public school employees. And County Executive Ball joins us right now. Hey, County Executive, good morning.
Hey, sir, how are you?
Good morning and happy Friday, Junior.
Always a joyful note, Brian. Friday Junior. I haven't heard Friday Junior quite before. But Dr. Ball, let me ask you, because you mentioned this to us a couple of weeks ago, and it was your intent to have the Howard County school system take about $8 million of their $43 million that they had from federal monies as well to do this deal. Talk about that for a moment.
Well, it was important for me. It's been so difficult for our teachers, support staff, everyone who's been trying to help ensure our kids are educated and taken care of. And I wanted to make sure that they had a bonus, not only to recognize their dedication, but also, as we're seeing with these worker shortages, retain our experienced teachers. And so I was willing to put about $8 million of our American Rescue Plan funding, but only if it was going to be matched with the money from the school system got from the federal ESSER funding, which was about $43 million, and that they worked with the educators so that we could come up with a program that really valued them.
So how much money are we talking about for these teachers, and is every teacher going to get a little bit more money?
So it's going to be about 8,400 full-time employees are going to get a bonus of about $1,800, which is the highest of the bonuses in the state that I know of. Most of them are around 800, 1,000, 1,200. And then it will be prorated based upon the other part-time employees.
Now, Dr. Ball, you mentioned, and Superintendent Moderano on Tuesday, that this would be two installments, February 4th, June 24th, where they would get this money. But as you said, and I think one of the problems that we've seen in school systems is retaining many teachers who have, for whatever, whether it's burnout or whether they want to do something else or leaving. This is an attempt to keep what you have, right?
Exactly. I mean, look, as county executive, I have employees too, so I made sure about 2,700 of my full-time employees and some contingents got their bonuses. I worked with our health department to ensure that they got bonuses. I worked with our hospital, gave them $2 million so that they could retain nurses and other doctors and health professionals. And our educators are critical because at the end of the day, education is one of the most democratizing, empowering ways that we can create a better future, and that's one of the reasons why people come to Howard County.
So your county doesn't get as much money as some of the other counties. I know there's like a formula for that when it comes to this COVID relief money, but is there a detailed description or itemized list of where that money is going to go? And would you like to see the same for the school system on the money that they have, as you said, a little bit under $50 million?
Yeah, great question. So we got about $63 million allocated to us in two different installments. The first installment this year is about $30 million. And like you said, we have other jurisdictions around the state. Baltimore City got about $600 million to our $63 million. So, yes, there is a formula. And I think that when it comes to transparency, when it comes to helping to ensure that people know how their money is being spent, it should be out there for us, for our school system, for everyone, so that people know, how are we spending this money? Even if they don't necessarily agree, it's our duty to make sure that we do share that information.
Howard County Executive Calvin Ball is on board with us. And County Executive, about a week ago, the school system, now I didn't realize this till I looked into it, because we've had a problem with substitute teachers all over the country in terms of keeping them around. They implemented a 25% increase for substitute teachers that was approved. That's also important because we know teachers are one that we've got to have substitute teachers, right?
It is critical, and I'm so glad you brought that up. You know, we just talked about the educator bonuses for about, you know, the 8,400 full-time. We had about $2 million for our bus drivers so that they could be retained. But our substitutes, who are oftentimes the ones who are filling in the gap, now more than ever, if we have an educator who is out because of COVID or a family member, and now with that 25% increase in Howard County is now one of the highest paying districts for substitutes in the state of Maryland.
When it comes to COVID and where we are right now, obviously we're seeing a big drop off in cases. Looks like the hospital situation is getting better. There is a mask mandate in place. At what point, at what metric are you looking at when it comes to removing the mask mandate?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we were in a really bad spot in Howard County just a few weeks ago with approximately a 30% positivity rate, the highest that we had ever seen. And that is just what we know of. You know, with these home test kits, a lot of people aren't necessarily sharing that information. Now we're at about a 16% positivity rate, which, you know, relatively is much better, but is still not good at all. And so we're actually going to probably take another week or so. Hopefully we get below 10%, and then we're going to evaluate where we are. Are we past the worst of Omicron? Do we have another variant on the horizon? Because at the end of the day, we know that masks do help slow some of the spreading, and tests do help us with knowing where people are sick, especially when we have the surveillance testing. And so the last thing I want to do is open things up too quickly so that, you know, when it comes to our businesses, our schools, we can't keep them open, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that people can get to work and kids can go into school buildings as long as possible, but everybody can do it safely.
But can I push back on that for a second? Do you really think that the mask mandates have had any major impact on the drop? I mean, can you really point to a behavioral change as to why we are seeing cases drop in Maryland? I mean, look, they don't have a mask mandate in Harford County. They don't have a mask mandate in Carroll County, and their numbers look the same as every other county that has a mask mandate.
Well, you know, I think if you look at how we keep people safe, it's almost like several layers of Swiss cheese. Mask mandates alone don't do it. Testing alone doesn't do it. Vaccine alone doesn't do it. Physical distancing alone doesn't do it. But when you put all of those things together, then it does help. And yes, Harford County, Carroll, a lot of places are doing better. But if you look at our data in Howard County for the last year, our data has been the top 1 to 3 in the state. And so I think when you layer all of those issues, it does help. And for some people, it helps them think about it. It is a trigger. Oh, yeah, that's right. When I go into this building, I need to have a mask. And when I talked to a lot of business owners, they were thanking me because they wanted the mask mandate, but they didn't want to be the only business. They didn't want to have to deal with having that tough conversation when the business right next door wouldn't do it. But having it countywide allowed everybody to be on the same footing.
But even when it's a cloth mask, which the CDC admits really don't do a whole lot when it comes to COVID right now.
Well, look, I think at the end of the day, you know, the CDC and a lot of health professionals say cloth is better than nothing, but we definitely need to have, you know, KN95s, N95s if you're fit tested. Those are much, much better at the end of the day. But, you know, some people I see, if they have a double cloth mask and, you know, they're not around people within 6 feet for longer than 15 minutes within a 24-hour period, that's something. But, you know, I definitely strongly recommend KN95s or an N95 if you're fit tested.
A couple of weeks ago, when we spoke with you, County Executive Ball, we were talking about where things stood with Howard County General Hospital, and it was like a couple of days after, a day after there, that they activated their crisis standard of care, because a lot of hospitals are going through this, short staff and everything else. Where is your hospital now as it relates to the ability to provide people to work there?
Well, it has been a significant challenge with burnout. And, you know, we in the public, you know, we experience COVID. We see people with COVID. most of us are blessed enough to have people who are in that situation. They have a tough time for a week or two, and then they kind of come back. At the hospital, they're always seeing the worst of the worst cases. People on ventilators, respirators, long COVID, and it is draining and demoralizing for a lot of our health professionals, and they're health heroes. So, number one, working with them to commit that $2 million in retention bonuses was critical. But number two, just helping them have all the facilities. Things are better. We have about 65 to 70 patients in Howard County General ICU and acute care that are COVID patients, so that's better than where we were, but it's still really tough, and there's still significant burnout.
Last question for me, sir, and that is, the mayor of Baltimore, Brandon Scott, has talked about trying maybe at least discussing a regional passports, vaccine passport. I know Montgomery County is considering one as well. Looks like it's going to happen next week. Are you at all thinking about that? And would you join a regional efforts, or would you even think about doing it individually just in Howard County?
Yeah, we're definitely looking at that and any other potential options. If we did it, I think the only way that it works is if it's regional, because Maryland is just such a small state. I think the best thing, if it were to move forward, would be just a statewide thing. But I think at the end of the day, I am looking at how it's being implemented in other jurisdictions. Is it helping? Is it harmful? And looking at all of our numbers. So, as always, we're keeping an open mind. We're looking at the data, but it's highly unlikely we would do something alone as just one jurisdiction.
Well, Howard County Executive Dr. Calvin Ball, I appreciate the fact that once you put that challenge out there about the $8 million, that the Howard County schools and Dr. Michael Martirano matched it, because right now we really need to retain and keep teachers.
Well, thank you so much. And you know what? The only way we're going to get through this is we're going to get through it together, working together, collaborating, communicating, and holding on to a little bit of hope.
And thanks for the always cheery word about today being, what again? What is Thursday?
Friday Junior.
Friday Junior.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Calvin Ball.
Have a great day, guys. Stay safe.
I appreciate it.